the algorithms and transparency. And this is something that I believe Elon has gotten almost right, which is he suggested that the feed algorithm be made open source. Because as most people know, you don't see all the tweets of your friends in their time order in which they were made. You used to on both Facebook and Twitter, but it's been many years. And frankly, an awful lot of their money comes from feeding you clickbait and things that will keep you on and drive engagement, et cetera. And nobody knows what those algorithms do. They're magic, right? And people think they've been shadow banned. For instance, shadow banning is the idea that based on the content or you or something, they feed less of your stories to people who follow you. I've occasionally been fairly convinced I've been shadow banned for periods of time.
You have to be careful because there are multiple patterns. One pattern I've seen, which you will spot right away why it exists, is that when you take a break from Twitter, Twitter is very tepid on your tweets at the point that you return. Right?
Yeah, that's very true. And as somebody who takes a 6-month sabbatical from social media every year, it does take a while to warm the algorithms up when I get back.
Right, which I take to be effectively punishment to keep addicts on. Right, it's very addictive. When my tweets are, regularly getting 4,000, 6,000, 8,000 likes, and then I take a break for a week and I come back and stuff isn't getting seen. It trains me. Actually, those breaks for a week aren't so good for you, Brett. And anyway, It's
that
basically
makes a lot of sense, huge amount of sense. And goddamn, does that suck, right?
God damn, does that suck? And the thing is, I can't even swear. I mean, I'll bet you that they understand what they're doing, but it's the kind of thing that if they have a learning algorithm, what biases cause people to remain engaged on Twitter, it will discover the pattern of how to punish somebody who's trying to control their addiction, and it will generate that algorithm. So
this algorithm generates more actual views than that algorithm. The management may not even know that it has this feature. And in fact, that's one of the dangers of black box machine learning. Black box machine learning is damn useful for certain things, but for things like this, with no transparency in it, it can produce very bad, unanticipated questions. I never thought of that. You're exactly right. That's got to be true. I mean, especially the guys who are growing massive machine learning, which are mostly Facebook and Google. I guarantee, either intentionally or unintentionally, they are punishing people who stop shooting up the heroin.
And if you wanna be a paperclip, that's the thing to root for. That's the thing that's going to get you turned into a paperclip faster than anything else, is these black boxes where the people who made them don't know why they work, right?
But they work on the metric they were given. We want lots of paperclips. You're going to get a whole bunch of paperclips, motherfucker. But anyway, now back to my solution on where I think he's half right, or 60% right. That feed algorithm ought to be open source. Not that I was talking to my wife about this, and she's a very smart person, but she's not a software person. She said, I don't know what I would do with that. Well, you don't need to do anything with it. There are professional critics out there who will evaluate the software, and they'll say, oh, look at this. It's done just what Brett said. The motherfuckers, they punish you if you go on break. And then everybody would know it and start complaining, and maybe they'd fix it. But the downside is it would also provide lots of clues for how to game the algorithm.
Yeah,
and that's not good. So here's my response to that. Here's my solution, which is, all right, let's have a market in feed algorithms, and they're all required to be open source. And you can charge up to 10 cents a month to somebody to subscribe to your feed algorithm. And they're all open source, and more important, and also very importantly, the architecture of Facebook does not, or other users do not know what algorithm you're running, so they don't know how to game you. So suddenly the gaming of the algorithms problem becomes exponentially more difficult. And so I think you get the power of open source algorithms, you get innovation in algorithms, which itself is a pure good, and you get a dense and complicated ecosystem, which is very difficult to game.
Yeah, but there's a big danger in that, Jim. If you take that too
far, there are some dangers. Let's hear it.
This is like the mother of all dangers, right? If you take that thinking too far, you could end up saving Western civilization, right?
I'd hate for that to happen.
I know. Wouldn't that be terrible? Yeah, because if people had too much insight into the way they were being manipulated and started to understand why other people see things the way that they do, then they would be much harder to fool, right? And actually, so this is my elaboration of that idea. As it happens, I was working with some other folks about what to do about the collapse of all of our platforms, which may not matter because Elon may be in the process of rescuing Twitter. And if he does, that will change the dynamics for the rest of the, if the rest of these social media platforms are like the kiddie pool and Twitter is like a place that adults can go and have any conversation that needs to be had, then Twitter's going to be the only place anybody wants to be. So that's going to change what the other platforms do. This is an extension of my zero is a special number claim. But anyway, one of the things that I think is true, and this is a response to Celia's point about not knowing what to do with the algorithm, even if it was open, is I don't even think that that's right, because one of the things you might build in is it could be sliders, right, where you could just play with them and see how your view of the world changes as you move yourself from Twitter thinks I'm a liberal to Twitter thinks I'm a conservative or something like that. But you could also, there's all kinds of fun things you could do, right? Hey, Bret Weinstein sounds crazy to me. I cannot understand how a smart person would reach the conclusions that he seems to have reached about, for example, COVID public health policy. Let me see the world as Bret sees it for a week, right? Then maybe you'll understand a few things, right? Now, if you could do that, if you could say, look, I want to see what my opposite, take every parameter that describes me and flip them all the other direction. What does that person see on Twitter? Now this begins to empower us as citizens to understand the crazy world we've landed in, right? I think this could be, and I have wondered about this for at least a decade. Why is there not a cottage industry of people trying to reverse engineer moment to moment the content of these algorithms so that we can, put a corrective lens on them and stop seeing through some, Baroque structure's desired viewpoint, right?
There is an industry, right? It's people who are basically trying to promote stuff, right? The influencer type stuff. It's all about, how to game the algorithms. There's a giant industry in how to game the algorithms.
True, but there's no public spirited effort to allow you to correct for the algorithm's impact on you. So anyway, the point is, look, if you give users the ability to play with the parameters, see what other people see, right, that could potentially be a game changer with respect to how we understand each other.
Yeah, I love that. And you combine it with the marketplace idea, because that way there would be innovation in these sliders, right? Okay, what kind of, not just right and left, that's kind of stupid. How about open-minded versus closed-minded? How about neurotic versus anti-neurotic, right? You could have all kinds of interesting ideas. Or again, someone could actually put, I want to look at the world the way Kim Kardashian looks at it for 30 seconds before I went insane. And there'll be lots of innovation in the features around feeds. So I love your idea. Frankly, I've never thought about that. That's a great one. I'm stealing that. And I'll give I'll give credit when I remember that Bret Weinstein said that we should have sliders on our feed al goals and be able to switch shoes with other people and see the world from their, that alone, see the world from their perspective for, even if it's just an hour, would be really quite valuable.
Oh my God, it would be so great. And you can imagine, the podcasts that are just waiting to happen. Somebody runs an experiment, right? I lived for a week in Jesse Singal's shoes, right? Let me tell you what I learned about the difference in our perspective. There's so much room, for us to become sort of like next level conscious of our collective consciousness, that it's hard to imagine how it wouldn't be invigorating and tremendously insightful.
As the big heads say, multi-perspectival, right? Literally, you'd have an opportunity to be multi-perspectival. I could look at the world as Brett sees it. I could look at the world as Kim Kardashian sees it. I could look at the way, heaven forbid, Trump sees it, and that would be educational for short periods of time.
It sure would,
and that's really hard to do. It's impossible to do in a face-to-face world, other than through empathy. But this is literally a place where our technology could provide us a capacity we never had before.
Totally could. And for a troublemaker like Elon Musk, this is, I think, a natural, right?
Hey, Elon, give us a call. We'll tell you how to do it.